We all wait in life for things to get easier. It will never get easier. What happens is you handle hard better.
All right, welcome back to Sidelines. If you're joining us, this is our second episode. We are currently actually in the process of releasing our first episode tomorrow. So by this time, we won't know what's happened yet. So hopefully you're all enjoying it. We're going to try to do this every week and kind of pick a new topic every week as we go along. So this week, I think we're going to try to do tackle rehab and rehabilitation because, as I mentioned last week, Katie had her surgery about 2 weeks ago now, I guess 3 weeks ago. So let's just start there with like, where are you at and what have you done in the last 3 weeks?
Sounds good. Last 3 weeks, I've been mostly just still focusing on like getting my full extension. I'm super, super close to having it fully back, so just trying to make sure that's completed. So just like lots of like extension and flexion exercises I'll give you. And I started to do a little bit of strength building, so like wall sits, and I'm allowed to ride the bike for like I think it's like 20 minutes a day, like 2 sets of 10 riding like for 10 minutes every time I do my PT, I can ride the bike.
Mm-hmm.
And then like calf raises, I have lots of the resistance bands. I do a lot of band work right now.
Yeah.
Mostly just kind of I go for PT again tomorrow in Lethbridge, so we'll see how that goes. But
How long after your surgery did you go into surgery or sorry, into rehab? Like how many days in between?
the next day I started my rehab, like the day after surgery.
Shocking. Not really. So you have gone how many times to like PT? And if you guys don't know what PT is, there might be some people. It's just physical therapy. It's just easier to say and definitely much easier to spell.
Yeah.
So how many times? So do you have PT in Ferdy or are you just making the trip every single time to go to Lethbridge?
Every time I'll go to Lethbridge, and then when I move to Lethbridge next semester, I'm gonna get a gym membership and just do it there. So they can the gym membership they offer at the like my physical therapist office is like instead of booking a session like every day, so you can have like your physical therapy done. It's just like I can do it in the like the gym that they're helping other people with. But if they're walking by and I'm doing something wrong, they can just say, "Hey, Katie, fix this." Just
Correct, you're right.
they just have an eye on me, like not fully, but they still are watching.
Right.
But
What is your reason for doing that? Just because of where you're going to be going in, after the new year or just, personal?
no, I was thinking I was like, I need to, if I'm not doing anything this whole year, I need to take some classes. So I was like, I'm just gonna go to the Lethbridge College, take some classes, like see where that
Mhm.
takes me. So then if I decide to do like another prep year at Edge, or if that's even an option for me at this point, it's like so I can say that I have done some classes so I'm not completely behind in my schoolwork.
Right. So I'm sorry. I know we were going to talk about rehab, but you just brought up something that is now just piqued my interest because you were talking about getting a year of eligibility back. So can you explain what that is and what it essentially means and why you're trying to do it?
Yeah, so basically because of my injury and I heard it like on my form apparently that I could submit because I had my first injury in summer. I can submit an appeal form to the NCAA to try to get my gap year back so I can play another year without losing any of my eligibility years for NCAA or Canada, like post-secondary basketball in Canada. So basically just stopping my clock because in the NCAA, your clock starts immediately 12 months after you graduate, regardless if you're playing a sport or not. I could just be like a regular student that just going for education, never played a sport in my life. I couldn't play NCAA sports if I'm past 4 years of my graduation date
Oh, okay.
or 5 years after my graduation date.
I had no idea about that. Like,
Yeah.
and that's the same for you sport, or is that just an
No.
NCAA?
So
Okay, NCAA
you
rule.
sport it's 5 years from you have 5 years of eligibility. So you could play a year and then take a year off and then start playing again, and you'd still have a total of 5 years.
Right.
So it's when you start playing basketball that year for you sport.
That is correct. And you know what? I actually know that answer because my daughter did it. This is super awkward. So yeah, just briefly retelling, my daughter did her ACL in her grade 12 year and still assigned to a youth sports school in Edmonton. However, she did decide to do a medical redshirt year that year because she actually ended up breaking her ankle 2 weeks after she was cleared to return to sport from her ACL. So, medical redshirt year. So she was in her first year of school and did not lose a year of eligibility because she didn't step on the court. So, that meaning that she's in her second year right now, but she's in her third year of university. So, uh, essentially, she still, after this year, has 3 years, even though she could essentially graduate either at the end of this year or early next year, I think. So, which will then give, I guess, her the ability to make decisions and either choose to stay at the school that she's at or go after a different degree or a master's or anything like that. Because when you are within your program, you cannot transfer because, well, I guess you can transfer, but then you have to end up redshirting. So unless you graduate and the program is not offered at your school. So there's lots of things that even I'm still learning as we go. So I did not know that about the NCAA, so that is good to know. When do you know, like, or how does the appeal process go?
So the appeal process when I contacted NCAA is that you have to do it through like a school's counselor or athletic advisor.
Okay,
So because I still have the connection to Edge through Eddie, and the athletic counselor at Edge, me and her, I'm gonna email her and just work with her on trying
that's
to get it.
awesome.
So it's like, I feel like it's gonna be a 50-50 shot just because of,
Yeah. Well, and it's worth a try, right? Like, I mean, like at this point, it's like you just, if that door's closed, try another door. If that door's closed, try another door. And I guess that gives you the ability to just sort of, keep trying, keep going. And I mean, the more you go, the more you learn. So that's good.
Mhm.
So hopefully that works out. That would be amazing. But I also really appreciate the fact that you would be even like be open to doing your prep year over again because so many kids your age are in a rush. Um, and so I feel like when you're in a rush and you don't know what you don't know, we tend to make mistakes or decisions based off of emotion or
Mhm.
influence or whatever it may be. So I really appreciate the fact that you are taking your time. And if a prep year is open, that's great. And then if not, I guess, well, there's other options.
Definitely, there is other options. So right now we're just trying to take it slow, see what happens, see how it plays out. But you never know with these things, it's hard.
No kidding. So what has been your most challenging aspect about your rehab process now? Well, I'm gonna go with I'm assuming the drive.
The drive's not fun. Don't like the drive.
Yeah.
Um, Probably just trying to stay motivated to do it because the exercises that I'm doing right now are, I just think they're
Pretty
really
basic.
important, but they're so basic, and I just like, this is so stupid. Like, I can do these already. Like, it doesn't feel like it's challenging me. So that
Yeah,
part, the wanting just to like go down to the workout room, make sure you do it properly and good. That part's probably the most challenging right now. It's just staying motivated to do the basic stuff. I really like the lifting and the biking. Like, I can do that. Like, just keeping track of how many calf raises I can do in a row now and how long I can sit in a wall sit. Just stuff like that. It's good, but hard to stay motivated on the basic stuff right now.
fair. So you're like taking like note of your like small victories along the way and whatnot, right? Just
Mhm.
I find with athletes because you guys are so structured that when you don't I don't want to say like a gold star because it's not a gold star, but it's like you thrive off of getting that good pass or that good bucket or whichever. And so now you're thriving off of I can get my leg to 100 degrees. It is super flat and I can, lift. Have you done that test where you have to like push out with your leg, like the strength test?
Yeah, I did that before surgery. I haven't done it after surgery.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit because I think that's like your baseline is like how strong is your left versus your right or vice versa.
Yeah.
Have you noticed size difference in your muscles as of right now?
My right leg looks really skinny compared to my left. And I don't know. I don't like it.
No. Do you know what the degree is in measurement that's different?
No,
No.
no.
Okay. They might do that when you're at your 6 week mark, I think is when they kind of do a little bit more testing, but that'll be interesting because it took a long time. Like, I'm not going to lie, like with Ava's, she might even still be off a little bit, right? Within the size. But I mean, I wonder if it's like that regularly. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like you have a dominant kicking leg or an
Yeah.
arm or whichever. Like, I wonder what it would have been like prior to versus after injury versus now. Do you know what I mean? Just to sort of,
See what it was.
mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's one of those things that you almost obsess after. Like it's
Hmm.
because it's something you can track, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what has been your major milestone? Like what is the thing that you've been the most happy about during the rehab process where it's like, yeah, got that.
Biking. I was happy I could start biking earlier than most people, so I was pretty stoked about that. The one, like, really, I guess it was kind of funny. When you come out of surgery, your leg is really stiff, so you can't lift your heel without using your hips. And like a couple days after surgery, I was like, what is wrong? Like, I can't lift my heel. Like, this used to be so easy. And then maybe
Right.
like day four, like woke up one morning, like lifted my heel, and I was so happy. I like called my mom. I was like, "Look, I can lift my heel now." But that was funny. But
But
yeah.
exactly, like it's like talking about the little victories, right? It's like the little things that you are kind of like excited about, where you're like, "Holy cow, I can't believe I'm excited about lifting my heel." But it really, when we were talking last week about the privilege to play, it really gives you that perspective of it, like how important those little movements and those shifts are, right? And
Mhm.
I think I don't think we brought it up in the podcast, but we were talking about like the importance of being like with an actual, certified athletic therapist so they can actually do your baseline. And when I talk about baseline, because you're almost like relearning how to do everything from the ground up. And with you almost compensating, because that was the biggest thing for Ava. Even now, I will catch her limping. And like people will ask her where it's like, is your knee sore? No, why? Is your ankle sore? No, why? Well, why are you limping? She's like, I'm not limping. I'm like, no, like, dude, like, I swear to God, you're limping. Right. And it's just that muscle memory because she like limped or favored something for so long that it's like literally that thing that just almost like is like a tweak or something. Right. So and that's, not everybody will work with an athletic therapist from like beginning to end because not everybody is an athlete. And I realize that, but it is really good to sort of work with someone periodically, like not just physiotherapy, like an athletic therapist. They're totally two different things. Because that athletic therapist can recognize the little shifts in your movement, whether it's like, oh, you're a degree off here or a certain degree off there. Like last week, you mentioned your hips, right? From proper squat formation. And it's just simple as you get so used to, repeating those same motions over and over again that it's good to have someone like actually almost retrain you how to do it.
Hmm. No, that's definitely good to have, like, just understand and fix the little things that you can to help prevent injury. So like just taking pride in like injury prevention and stuff with that.
Right, right. How do you stay motivated when it's just you? Like what do you do to like get yourself going? Because like you just said, it's kind of boring, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of force myself. I just kind
Mm-hmm.
of think I want to be back start of August, so I got to get up and do this. So
Do you
it's
have
just
like a playlist or music or anything yet you watch? Like, or is it just like you?
no, I listen to music when I do it, but it's mostly me just forcing myself to go and do
Right,
it. I think
right.
once like the lifting and stuff, like the heavy lifting, it'll be easier for me to go down because I like doing that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
right
Mm-hmm.
now, it's just these basic exercises. It's just hard to want to go down there and do it.
What is your like when's your next pillar that you get to where you'll get reassessed? Because I know there's different like markers, right?
6 weeks is when we get reassessed, just
Okay.
because the graft is finally a little bit more settled now on my knee.
Okay. And then, like, what are you expecting from that visit? Like, what would be the next like step that you would take after that visit?
Lifting, like heavy
Okay.
lift. Yeah.
Okay.
And
And
then they said running might be within the next month or two, just like jogging and stuff.
that is crazy. I'm like so impressed. Like that is crazy.
I'm happy.
No, like I'm so happy for you too, because like I was at a tournament I was doing a tournament last weekend, and a guy was there on crutches, and I had seen him probably 2 or 3 weeks before do it. Like I had filmed it, and I was like, and the way that he went down and that he didn't pop up, I knew, right? And even with talking to like his coach or whatnot, a couple of days afterwards, I'm like, oh, how is he? He's like, oh, it's fine. It's just a sprain. I'm like, mm-hmm. And I knew it. I knew it. And then like just a sprain to seeing him 3 weeks after that, he went down, and he's in a full on leg brace, like the uncomfortable leg brace that we don't like. Right. And I was like, so like, I went up to him like, hey, I saw you go down a couple of weeks ago. Like, can I ask like what it is? He's like, it is my MCL. It is, he's like, I didn't completely sever it or whatnot. It was like torn a bit or whatnot, but they can't even work on my MCL because I completely blew out my ACL. Or so he completely blew out his ACL, and he couldn't even, like, surgery's not even on the table right now because of the MCL has to repair before they could even go and work on the ACL. And
That's
it's
hard.
just so hard, right? And he's like, yeah, totally in my prep year and everything. I'm just like, oh, like I think it's one of the reasons why we decided to do this podcast, because it's like it's been become very common. And I don't know. At first, I thought it was like just a girl thing and whatnot, but I mean, it is everywhere now. And I don't know. And it'll be interesting to see, maybe we can get doctors on, or nurses, or physical therapists, or even sports therapists, and kind of explain like why there is so many of these injuries happening lately. Because at first it was like, oh, it's COVID, but COVID was like 3 or 4 years ago now, right? So it's like, okay, but that can't still be
But
the reason.
yeah, but even during COVID, like kids were still working out. Like the kids that were wanting to get something out of it, they were still lifting, working out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The strength building aspect might have still been there, which I don't know, that doesn't really make sense. But it's
Mm-hmm.
still like, so common everywhere, and it's just I just feel like I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but just the game has advanced so much within the past 5 years, even the
Oh,
physical,
100%.
like just the physicality of everything, and like just how much you're overworking your body without proper rehab after, and your nutrition isn't always the best. I think a lot of aspects kind of just play into the why are there's so many injuries right now,
I
especially with like
agree.
high sport athletes.
And it's so hard, because then they're like, what is the answer? Like, what
Yeah.
is the answer? Because it's, as you know, like, in order for someone to get the right footage, or get the right exposure, or get the right, looks, like you have to go to these tournaments. You have to, like, to get to even into some of these tournaments, it takes a lot to even get in. So once you even get in, you almost have to comply with all of the rules and regulations that they impose, kind of like how we mentioned last week, went down to Kentucky and we did 14 games. Or sorry, I did that again, like 22 games, but I believe it was in 14 days. And that is so much basketball that it's insane, actually, when you actually talk about it and you think about it, and you think about that level that you're playing at too, and you see these kids and you see the parents, like, we're all in it. And I don't even know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is. Like, how do you get kids, parents, coaches, of these programs and clubs to really stop and appreciate and understand the importance of the rest and rehab portion?
Yeah. No, I don't like there is really not an answer right now. It's just I think it's just it happens, it comes with the game, and just making sure that we can try to prevent it the best we can, and then deal with it the best we can after if it does happen.
So what do you think you're going to do, like, moving forward? Like, once you're cleared to go and you're good, like, what do you think that you're going to do different moving forward in your career as an athlete, that hopefully prevents things like this happening again?
I think I'm gonna properly warm up because I don't know. Desiree's told me many times on AAU, I hate stretching. It's the worst. I don't do it. And I think after
Mm.
this whole thing, I should probably start stretching more and taking care of my body a bit more. I guess it's just been so long of like I've just been going and going and going, and I think, especially in the AAU scene, like you kind of just is like the game ends, you just walk off the court, put your shoes on, and head out.
Oh,
Whereas
100%.
I think I should probably take care of the after the game rehab and
Or how many times have you showed up to a game and that game's going long? So you don't even get the warm up time. Like the refs are like 2 minutes. You're like, how is that even possible? Like that sort
yeah.
of stuff. I almost wish that there was like some sort of governance within tournaments and whatnot. Like you have to have proper warm up time in between. Like you have to. And what I'm saying, like I don't know how many people have done AAU, but whether you, I'll just use Tournament of Champions as a good example because it's a Nike tournament. It's one of the largest female tournaments in the world. And the first Tournament of Champions I ever went to was in Chicago. And you go into the Chicago Event Center, and there was literally 85 courts. 85 courts, 900 female teams, and 85 courts in one place, the McTavish Center in Chicago. That is
Yeah.
insane. So when
Mhm.
you have, I get this is a beast, and you're trying to like, I mean, if that's 85 courts, that is what 270 teams playing at the exact same time. So you're
Mhm.
not even there's not even space with around these courts where you can do proper like jogging or touching the lines or whatever. Like there's actually no opportunity to even warm up on the sidelines when you're in an environment like that.
Yeah. When we went to AAU, like you were in a crowd of people walking to your court, like there's no room to move, like
No,
at all. And like,
no.
did you say 87 courts?
85 or 87. Oh, so you're doing my
That's a,
math for me?
that's a smaller number too.
Yeah.
We've been in buildings with like 107 courts, like
It's
that's
insane.
on the wrong side. It's just crazy.
It is crazy. And here's the thing, like you're doing AAU, so you're going to get exposure and looks. How do you stand out in that environment? Like that environment is insane, right? It is a tough environment, and you just all you got to do is like I guess focus on yourself and focus on your game and focus on your team and not everything that's going around you. But I can say with when you're doing that many games in such few days without the proper warm up and nutrition and sleep and everything, like it's a recipe for a disaster in my opinion. And it's hard sometimes because I understand that everything is time is money too. So it's like these refs are budgeted, the courts are budgeted, the places, but security, vendors, like there's so many things that come into play. And I understand that. But then like what is this doing to our youth and our bodies and our mental health and all of that? Like you
Mhm.
see it all over, right? Social media. There's parents are insane too. Like we're insane. There's some
We had,
insane parents out there.
we had one Texas when it was my first year of AAU. We had one Texas parent. We were playing a Texas team, and we called her. I don't even know what they were called. We had a girl on my team. Her name was G, and her mom and her sister are like so nice, like nicest people ever. And my mom went and sat beside her, and this Texas mom was right beside them. And we were beating this team too. And she just was so mad that someone took her seat, like beyond furious that she wasn't sitting in front of their team's bench, and she was wanting like this G's girl's mom and sister to move so they can sit down. They like ended up like security had to come over too, and they were like pulling up her chair from like where the coaches sections were, and she wouldn't sit down. And then she ended up winning and standing underneath the hoop and screaming with her video camera on while we were shooting free throws, and it was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
That's crazy. Hang on. Maya's like literally calling me right now. What? I'm podcasting. What do you need? What?
Hi Maya.
Yeah, look. Hang on.
Hi Maya.
Katie. You are in this podcast right now. Hey, can I call you back or can you call me back?
Okay, so you don't love me, okay, bye. Love you,
Love you, Katie. You don't love me. Bye. So rude. Yeah, so I was in Utah with this last CT or with this group, of CTA West Boys, and there was this woman on the other team. I want to say that they were a Florida team, and she was just screaming and like yelling at the refs, and like I'm here like streaming, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so uncomfortable. Like I was just like and like every time she would just scream, she screamed at the refs are screaming back, and I'm sitting here like, okay, like what is going on? And I'm
Yeah.
like, and so this is also a Utah tournament. So it's actually a high school tournament. So these kids are either in high school or their first year post grad. So it's not like
Yeah.
it's not is no one's going to the NBA yet, right? There's definitely some very high level teams there, and sure enough, there's some 5-star, 4-star recruits or whatever it may be. But this particular game, this particular court, I don't think anybody was going to the NBA, but that's just my opinion. So, but regardless of that, she's yelling, and everyone around her, there are coaches and scouts at the end of the baselines and stuff. Like everyone is paying attention. And all I could sit there and think is about the kid, like whoever her kid is. I feel so bad for him because like that is embarrassing as a athlete. And I mean, believe me, I am guilty of embarrassing my child too, but I usually get the look and I'm like, oh,
Yep.
I need to
Yeah.
reel it in, right? I need to reel it in. But I was just like, oh my goodness. And so also from working with several teams, there's an acronym and it's CYP. And if there's ever CYP on like a recruiting table or on a recruiting paper or whatever, it's basically to tell you that if you recruit this kid, it's going to come with parent, right? CYP is comes with parent, and it's like you got to really reel it in, parents, because we don't want to affect their recruiting. Like they shouldn't be recruiting us. They're not recruiting us. I can tell you they're not recruiting us at all. So, but that's what happens at AAU. We get a little crazy. And I don't know. When you were at AAU, you were trying to take precautions, right? I know you were getting things wrapped and whatever. Um, is there ever a time where like when you were like younger and you would try to leave the house without your coat and your parents would be like, take your coat, and you'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to wear my coat, like just like leave me alone, and then like the moment you're out of your parents' eyes you take off your coat, like it's like done,
Yeah.
right? And I don't understand that because like or, you're just cold, right? So you'd rather be cool and cold, okay? But it's the same thing I feel with almost people that like rap. um do you feel like better or like worse when you have those sort of confinements on, whether you're wrapping a leg, wrapping a knee, or wearing a brace? Like how do you operate in that environment, or how do you feel comfortable still playing with all of those things?
Yeah. Definitely I think getting used because I'll be playing with a knee brace now. So I think definitely getting used to that might be a challenge for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I usually play with I have on my right ankle, I sprain it quite often, so I'll wear a ankle brace and stuff with that.
Mm-hmm.
That one doesn't bother me. I usually just get them taped though, so those are all right for me. I don't really find it too. I just kind of say whatever about it. In AAU, I hurt my shoulder in grade 11. I ended up running into a wall and I jammed my AC joint. Okay, it was not okay. I was saving a ball and we were down
I
by
get
two.
it. Hey man, it is
I
passion.
didn't unwillingly just run into a wall.
If you didn't dive for the ball, I would question that more. It's just unfortunate there was a wall in
I
front of
missed the
you.
net by like that much. Anyways, I hit the wall and it was like a concrete wall. So I actually did think I dislocated it and it popped back in, but I did jam my AC joint, so I had to rehab that for a bit. It's fine now, but when I was in AAU, this stupid team, I hated them. They're all just a bunch of turds. Just
Really, really not nice people.
no. I had like the coach yelling at me, take her out. And they did.
Mhm,
I did have an elbow driven in like right directly in my shoulder.
mhm.
And I was on the ground and I hurt my shoulder again. And I wasn't getting up. And so when I don't get up, it's not good if I don't get up before because I don't want a coach coming on and that means you just can't play. So
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
was down and our coach kind of started getting mad at the other coach because it was just not they weren't really great skill wise either. They were just kind of they're
Big and dirty.
dirty. But I ended up hurting my shoulder, so had to go get that tape from the rest of the AAU tournament. That was probably like a weekend. I heard it.
Hmm. Hmm.
I did use the tens machine from you guys for it in the hotel, and I did like get my shoulder iced and wrapped every time after that. So
Hmm.
just taking precautions like that. Just kind of got to be aware of how your body's going to react to certain things and what you need to do to help it become healthy again and just stuff like that. So
Now, how often did you think about your sleep and your nutrition prior to injury versus now?
not good, like at all. I think sleep for me was fine. Like I was not bad at getting my sleep, but my nutrition was terrible. Like Cracker
Mhm.
Barrel was not doing it.
Oh, but it's so good.
It was.
Like
But
honestly, like my biggest thing, Katie, is that like if we could get this podcast like going and like Cracker Barrel like sponsor us one day because I just want the biscuits. Like,
oh,
well, and maybe like the rocking chair because I feel like any place that you can go and get fried chicken, biscuits, strawberry lemonade, a Halloween costume, a Christmas present, and a rocking chair for your front yard, it's like the best place on the face of the planet.
yeah, but
Oh, and
definitely
what was that game that we played that I
it was the
everybody
game.
everyone was
Definitely
better than me.
it. But yeah, definitely nutrition wise, it wasn't. I did not think about my nutrition very well. Like I had a hard time eating before games because I just didn't like eating because I got
Anxiety or
no, I just felt like I kind of got sick if I ate too much before a game. Like I always like hydrate and drink water and Gatorade and stuff before a game,
Mhm.
but my nutrition should have been better and I should have been paying attention to that more.
So you think moving forward you'll probably make that one a focus, I would assume, right?
Yeah. Try to start meal planning, stuff like that,
Hmm.
so I can get that under control.
I know for a lot of post-secondary athletes, regardless of where you go, um, the moment you move out of away from home and you got to start doing this all on your own, it really does become a lot more challenging than you think. Because now you're constantly thinking also about your budget. Like most students aren't always funded by mom and dad. Like they'll either have student loans or they'll have scholarship money or whichever. But at the end of the day, it's still you for the most part, unless you're going to a Div 1 program that has to go out and buy your food, right? So that importance, and I do recommend for athletes is that if you can get yourself in a process of almost meal planning or meal prepping prior to your week moving forward, especially when you know there's going to be exams or there's going to be projects or essays due, or once you kind of move up into that collegiate level, once they're in season, most of them will travel on Thursday. This is for Canada. I can't speak for the US, but most of them will travel on a Thursday so they can get to their, destination. So Katie and I would fall into and do Sport Canada West. So it's anything that's basically west of Manitoba. So it's Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC. And so that's it doesn't seem like it's a lot of coverage, but Canada is huge. So if you're traveling all the way from Victoria to Manitoba, like that's a pretty significant travel day. As well as you have to, you have all your classes and your homework. If you're missing, well, you're probably missing school because it's a Thursday, Friday. So then they got to show up and they got to do scout. They probably have already done scout maybe the Wednesday or Tuesday the week before, but you'd go there, do scout, then you do shooting practice or one through, and then you're going to go back and get ready and you'll play that Friday night. And then obviously the next day do the same thing, go to scout, go to practice, and then play again Saturday, get on a bus or get on a plane and travel. So if you're doing that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where like how are you going to fit everything else in? And I guess that's just for me as a watching my own children go through it is trying to figure it out. So it's like something to definitely think about moving forward as a student athlete as well as a parent is how are you going to set up your kid for success where they can actually mentally, emotionally, financially, and physically take care of themselves, like honestly take care of themselves when they go to school.
Mhm.
Because it's a lot, right? Like you're away from home for the first time.
Yeah.
um you're like for the first time in a lot of time you don't have mom or dad reminding you to do stuff or ride your ass about this, that, and the other. And then you're like, woohoo, it's just me. I'm gonna go and like literally have pizza, pops, Egos, and noodles and sauce for like the next 4 months. Well, your body will break.
Yeah, not good.
No, you're not getting the proper nutrition and the vitamins and the nutrition. It's like gas in the car. If you're not going to be fueling your body, you're not going to be able to survive this season where it comes to you're going to either break mentally, emotionally, or physically in one aspect or another because you are not taking care of all of your pillars that you need to in order to be a top performing athlete.
Yeah.
So I feel a lot of teenagers don't think about it. And I don't know if it's necessarily trained once you get into school. I feel it's very hard. It's very easy to kind of get lost in the process of school. Like everyone's been a rookie, but I don't know if they really, really remember how hard it is being a rookie is kind of what I'm trying to get at. Right.
Mhm.
So I think, it's something to think about moving forward for all athletes. And Katie goes through this rehab process kind of weekly, and it'll be interesting to sort of see how you go through it because right now it's boring. You don't like it. You got to find something in the process that's going to make you happy. So is there anything that you're doing outside of rehab that is literally like, all right, this is fun?
I go help with like practices down at like our local school. So I like just putting my shoes on and just being in a gym again, even if I'm like in a brace and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, just getting out of the house. I go to like a YSA class in Cranbrook on Tuesday nights for our church.
Mm-hmm.
I like going to that. It's just a nice break to get out of the house and just see other people.
Mm-hmm.
But I like going down to Lethbridge and hanging out with some of my friends down there. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of good for me to do outside of my rehab. So just kind of just trying to find little things right now.
Right. Stay busy.
Yeah.
Uh, um, what what do you do on the really like rough days? Who do you reach out to? Who do you call or who do you talk to? Like, do you have, those people in place that are just helping you kind of stay distracted?
Yeah. I talk to mom quite a bit
Mm-hmm.
just because she's my mom. And then I have a few friends that have gone through like the process already, like for rehab for ACLs that I'll reach out to and ask like, hey, what did you do when this happened? Stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I can't really complain because my rehab's going pretty well right now. So I haven't had many rough days, but it's still challenging most days just to kind of do it and just kind of just get over yourself and just go downstairs and finish your rehab.
That is the thing is get over yourself, right? Is like it's so hard because it's like impacting every aspect of your life. And you know, when you really think about it, it's it's just a knee. Like it's do you know what I mean? And I know like I've even said that to my kids where it's like, oh, it's your knee. You're not you're fortunate enough that it's just that or it's just this. But in that moment, it absolutely sucks and nobody really understands. And it is weird. Like I was even talking to Maya's basketball coach yesterday, and he told a story. He's like, if like aliens came down to Earth and they watched how serious we take putting a bouncing orange ball into a hoop, how weird that looked to them. I'm like, oh, 100%. This is ridiculous. Like when you really actually strategically break it down, it's like people and athletes get paid millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to like put a ball in a hoop or put it in a net,
Yeah,
right?
no. And like I was on a phone call with one of my coaches, like past coaches this week, and he just told me pride gets in the way of most good things in this world. So just dropping your pride and just getting it over with because if you don't drop your pride, lots of crap's gonna happen and then you're gonna go into not a great stage of life because you're gonna just start feeling sorry for yourself and it just wrecks the fight in you. So
You know what? And that is great parting words. So how about we end it there? I think that's a great way to end it. And you're 100% right. It's a very smart coach. You got to drop your pride and kind of get out of your own way and find a way to, refocus sometimes because it's easy to kind of dwell. So
Mhm.
good. That's good, Katie. And I am glad you are on your way to PT again in Lethbridge, even though that's crazy. So
But yeah,
drive safe, and we will do this again next week. And I'm sure we'll be able to talk about more next week because our podcast actually is going to come out tomorrow, which is crazy town.
go watch it.
So go watch it, right? Go watch Sidelines Sessions on She Plays YYC on YouTube, and send us some questions if you want. And we will see you next week.
See you guys.